Oh, okay, a virtual background with this. Oh, okay. Hi, Steve.
Hello, Dick.
Hi, Steve. How you doing?
Okay, I got to turn my mic up a little bit. Am I the only one on?
Well, there's other people waiting. They just haven't loaded them in yet. I haven't. They're in the waiting room.
Hi, Dick. Is
Hi,
Bonnie,
Shelley.
is Bonnie
Pardon?
there? Is Bonnie there?
Yeah, she's coming in shortly.
Oh, good. Good.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give Elaine Rappaport a few minutes to talk about, she wanted to talk about the virtual.
Right.
So
Yeah,
here's,
we're moving along on that pretty good. We've got all the documents ready, and Mike has got a photo album that I think he's pretty much finished now. So we're going to start mailing out. We're going to do snail mail and then follow it up with constant contact also. So
yeah.
it's pretty well on its way now.
Is my picture better than it had been?
Yes, much better.
Okay, I just have a lamp from our bedroom on the side of me with the lights in back dimmed. So here's what I was going to talk about, Dick. I'm going to have maybe a 10-minute discussion about what's going on in the country. If people want to say whatever, then we're going to talk about topics for adult ed if people have any ideas. And then what the options are for services, particularly the high holy day services. I'll give Elaine a few minutes to talk about the virtual raffle, and then we should be ready to go into the Jewish Jeopardy Part 2.
Yeah, I'm not sure how well that's going to work, but we'll see. Yeah.
Oh, the Jeopardy?
Yeah, well, people are going to have to mute themselves and then raise their hands, and I think people have problems with that whole raise your hand thing, which is a very simple thing to do, but I don't know why people seem to have a problem with it. But
You mean doing it as a participant?
Yeah.
Or actually physically raising it?
Physically, well, I don't know how he wants everybody muted, and then if you wanna give your answer, you raise your hand and unmute, and then give it. So I'm going to leave it up to him, however he wants to do it.
Okay. So how are you doing?
Good.
How about Bonnie?
Good.
Okay.
Clean bill of health Monday from the surgeon, so she's
Oh, that's great.
she's good. Yeah.
Very good, very good. So our nephew, my younger brother's younger son, last Sunday fell and broke his hip.
Oh, my God. Wow.
So he had surgery at Hershey Medical Center Tuesday, I think, and then they brought him home today. So he fractured the acetabulum, and I guess he did a pretty bad break. So he's going to be laid up for probably 6 months.
Oh, wow.
Worse than a hip replacement, for sure.
How are you?
Bonnie's
I
there.
wasn't here for the beginning of the conversation.
Hi, Bonnie.
Hi. You
Hey,
can't see me because I flash in and out because of our virtual, there I am, because of our
There you
virtual.
are.
There you are.
boy, your hair's growing long too.
And I just had a cut yesterday, but
Oh.
this was what he could do with it based on, I guess I'll be letting it grow long.
So where did you go?
I went where I've been going, but I still have a scab in my head, so he couldn't cut it short.
Right, right.
And this seems to be like it will grow out and be able to be dealt with
Right.
for a while.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I don't know what to do with mine. I have really big hair, like back in the 60s and like in the 70s. It's just
It
getting
looks cute.
You think?
Your hair looks cute.
Oh, it's big. It's a little too big.
Well, you know what I did? I bought a brush for the first time in 10 years. And I actually am using it. So,
It's so funny. Yeah. Well, you guys look great, and I just heard about your clean bill of health, Bonnie. So now it's
Hey.
just a bad memory.
Yep, it's all in the rearview mirror now.
Thank God.
speaking of health, how's Larry's daughter?
It's amazing. She's probably the last month or so, she's had a couple months. It's like almost a complete turnaround. I mean, she's still doing chemo and radiation, or not radiation, just chemo, but she's been feeling great, and
They
she's
changed her chemo.
they changed her chemo, and
That made a big difference.
she's been, her grandchild was in visiting, and it's amazing how she's feeling. So
Oh,
everybody
thank
just
God.
keeping our fingers crossed. Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful news.
So interestingly, on Monday, I sent an email to Jane Schiff and Jeffrey Feld, just say, and it basically said, have you given any thought to a Shabbat for solidarity for what's going on in the country? The faith leaders could be at Shalom, social distance, they'd be remote, and then they could live stream it to whomever wanted to go on and watch the service. And I didn't hear from either one of them.
Huh.
Great.
Wow.
I don't know what's going on with this.
I
They don't.
don't know,
Okay. Okay.
but don't let it
Go out.
knock your
Don't
beer.
let, no.
All right, I'm gonna let everybody in. There's 10 people waiting, so I'm gonna.
Okay, fine with me. Oh, I see. Okay.
Hi, Dusty.
Hello, everybody.
There is
Hi.
Jane Rob.
Hi. Hey, Golden Birds. There's the birthday boy.
Yeah.
Barry, you look even younger than before.
Hey, Barry.
We just woke up.
Hey, Barry.
Just woke up.
Hey, Barry. I had to buy a brush
For,
for my hair.
oh, maybe it's Sarah.
First time in 10 years.
Wow.
What happened to the old
I
one?
did.
Oh,
Steve,
I
you
threw it
using-
away. I never
Hi, guys.
It's okay.
You want to see
Steve,
half
do
of
you want me to keep?
Hi,
the speaker?
Rowena. How are you?
Hi, Rowena.
Hi.
Steve?
Hi,
Steve,
Jane.
Hello, hello.
Hi,
Hey.
Jane.
Hi,
you
Jane.
want to be kept in speaker view?
Hey, everybody.
this way.
Nice seeing everybody.
You look good.
barber shop.
You look
Whose
good.
birthday is it? I look good. You too. Hi, Gospel.
Donna Irene.
Hair's long.
Where's Dave? I see Rowena. Where's Dave?
I'm right here.
Oh, hi. How are you?
Hi. You guys look good.
Yeah, you look good.
Yeah, this hibernation's doing wonders.
So what did you have for dinner on your birthday, Barry?
Oh, tough
Hi, Joel.
questions. Chinese.
Chinese.
Right.
Ah.
Marilyn, you made Chinese?
Happy birthday.
Homemade Chinese.
Lunch
yes.
was better.
Hey, Robina.
That was a Chicago treat, Maxwell Street College.
We bring this
Everybody's
forward.
I don't
Is
know.
it not pleasant?
I don't know.
Doesn't.
Oh,
I was just trying to get more light on the
oh,
Paula,
Hi.
Hi,
can
hi.
see
Say hi to everybody.
Hi, Roxanne.
hi, Lola.
All you need to tilt your computer toward you.
Toward me, it's toward me.
Okay,
Not
just let it be.
Yeah,
Not
Just
toward
a
enough.
little more, a little bit more
Let's
towards
see.
you.
Like
So we
this.
can see your whole face.
Whole face, okay.
Ours?
Nothing really to see, but thank you for.
Do you have a New York phone book to sit on?
No, I'm sitting on music book.
hi,
Hey,
Rochelle.
Rochelle.
Hey, Rochelle.
Hi. Hello, everybody.
Can you see me now?
Hi.
Not an Irene.
Okay,
I-
you can see me like that better.
we go.
All right.
I didn't want to mess up the desk.
So we have 1, 2, 3.
Well, you have eight more
There were
people.
just 12 on.
There's
You
Bonnie.
got 8
Yep.
people coming.
Hi,
yet.
Bonnie.
If you look at participants at the bottom, it tells you how many.
Hi, Shelley.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you too.
And there's Mike. Hi, Mike.
Here I am.
Hello.
Hi, Mike. Hi, Paula.
Hi, Mike.
This is nice.
Dusty, you look good today too.
It's good to see everybody.
Yeah.
Away. I won't play with it now.
I saw Gusty by the
Hey,
street.
Gusty, what are you drinking?
Coffee.
Who's coffee?
Fat Champ.
They
Hi,
provide
lot of
people drink.
Everybody.
All right, who else is coming?
Everybody lost the
On
sound.
the
I guess.
list.
Hey, Dick, are we ready to get this show on the
Well,
road?
you had 20 people sign up and 15 are in, but it's just 5 o'clock. It's not quite 5 o'clock. Wait a couple more minutes.
2 minutes and then.
But when do we serve the pizza?
Yeah.
Somebody out there open.
Order it.
I thought Chuck, you're not in the
Lane's
picture.
delivering it.
No, I thought the
No,
door shut
no,
was.
you're not in the picture.
How about some birthday cake? Yeah,
Whoa. You have some?
You sharing?
yeah. Here.
Chuck, all we see is your ceiling.
You gotta move your camera so you can see yourself.
Sharing.
Chuck,
I'm trying,
People.
Oh,
it's my, oh, I know what's wrong.
Did you make the cake?
There you
Nick?
go.
There you go.
I did
Hi,
not.
Chuck.
I did not. No,
Hi,
I bought it.
hi, Elaine.
Hi, Elaine.
Seeing everybody.
This is driving me crazy.
Hi, Rob.
Hi,
Hi,
Jay.
Dick.
I changed.
You.
Let's see. Let's see.
I should really get a tone.
hey, Rob, are you gonna
Yeah.
play poker with us online?
Oh, Tim Rob.
When
do you
We could
I
play
don't know yet.
Mahjong online.
We haven't,
everybody.
we haven't
You know, I
picked a
started
time
to
yet.
read the directions and what they want. It sounds like you can't be, you can bluff.
What's that?
I tried the direction.
I'm waiting for volunteers to head it up, and I haven't had one yet.
Sounds like-
I've already tried.
All right, Steve, go ahead.
Again.
Okay, are we ready to start?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay,
All right, I give up. I can't
even
figure it out.
though this is a happy hour, I think we live in serious times. So I want to start this with a sobering topic, what's going on right now in America. Shelley and I, and I'm sure a lot of you, have been giving a lot of thought to the,
Just go ahead. Don't worry about
to the two viruses infecting America at the moment, COVID-19 and systemic and institutional racism and discrimination. One is months old, but the other is 4 centuries old. Since African Americans were first brought here in chains in 1619 to Jamestown in colonial Virginia, they have been physically as well as legally and societally subjugated and oppressed, as well as sometimes exterminated. From slave patrols in the South, to policing based on racial norms of white supremacy in the North, to black codes and Jim Crow laws, to redlining and other discrimination, the legal and political obstacles to equal opportunity for blacks have often been insurmountable. I can recommend 2 books to you that provide historical perspective on this. One is White Rage by Carol Anderson, and one is Stamped from the Beginning. We, everybody, please put yourselves on mute, please, for a minute, and then we'll open it up. We as Jews have been particularly attuned to this moral sickness afflicting the American soul, as we have experienced it in a different manner and to a different degree. We have often been stranger soulmates with blacks, particularly during the civil rights era. We cannot begin to reckon with the systemic and institutional racism and discrimination that has plagued our past, infects our present, and threatens our future until we lay to rest in our heads and our hearts the blatant lie perpetuated for centuries that whites are superior and blacks are inferior and therefore unworthy of the right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. It is a sad fact that for much of American history, black lives haven't mattered. Martin Luther King Jr., quoting Theodore Parker, a 19th century Unitarian minister, once said, "The moral arc of the universe is long, but it bends toward justice. We Jews are implored to seek justice as one of the pillars of our Judaic creed. We must ask ourselves, what can we do to bend the moral arc toward justice for all Americans?" I know it's a little heavy, but I think we need to talk a little bit about this. So I open it up for discussion. And please keep politics out of it.
We need a plan of action. Just talking about, what are we going to do?
How do we do this?
Pardon me?
Raise your hand.
Irene, you?
All right, we all know that there have been a lot of demonstrations, and some of those demonstrations have been very peaceful, and some of those demonstrations have been fraught with difficulties. I want you to know that here in Collier County, as you know, I am a member of the JCRC. I represent our temple at the Federation on this committee, which is the JCRC. And we have a committee that is called Stand Up for Justice. Because of this committee, and a part of this committee, whoops, I lost this on my phone, here it goes. There is going to be a rally, a peaceful rally on June 10th. It is sponsored by the NAACP. The JCRC committee is encouraging people to attend this rally. And it is sanctioned and protected by the Collier County Sheriff's Office. Somebody else talking? Okay. Sheriff.
What is it?
Just one moment. I'll answer your questions in a minute.
Sure.
And it's Sheriff Rombusk and the Sheriff's Department will be there to essentially protect us. They know we're coming. And so it is, it's an area where we can go and
Couldn't hear what-
demonstrate peacefully. So it is on June 10th at 6 o'clock. It's going to be in front of the Collier County Courthouse, on the steps in front of the Collier County Courthouse. And if you wish to bring signs, you can make signs and bring signs and so forth. I would encourage, if anybody wants to go, to certainly go ahead and wear the masks that you always wear wherever you go. And if you want to go, I think it would be a good idea to let me know if you're planning to go, so that we know who's going to be going and we can make arrangements to meet there.
Okay. Now, well, I'm unmuted. I want you to know that on Monday, I sent an email to Jeffrey Feld and Jane Schiff, asking them if they had thought of having a Shabbat for Solidarity involving lay leaders, both Jewish and others, being at Temple Shalom, social distancing, and live streaming it to anybody that would want to attend virtually. And I haven't heard anything from either one. Now, maybe they're talking about doing it. I don't know. But I think that in order to start to address this issue, it's important to have rallies in support of Blacks, African Americans, and other people of color. But I think it's also we need to do something on a more organized basis, whether it's proposing legislation, addressing our legislators, both local, state, and national. I just wanted to start a conversation because I think that from what I observed, this might be an inflection point in American history. These demonstrations, these protests have lasted for 10 days now. There doesn't appear to be a let-up in sight. And they're not only national, they're international. And maybe something will change, but it really involves a mindset of all of us.
I have a question, Irene. Is there going to be any kind of social distancing at this rally? Because most of the rallies don't have social distancing.
I haven't heard any talk about that, and which is why I'm encouraging people to wear masks. And certainly, I have been practicing social distancing whenever I do go out, so I would do the same thing there.
You're going to have to turn that off.
Whoa.
They said to raise the hand.
Somebody's got something.
Yes, so there, yes.
Hi, can I, are we doing this by hand raising? That doesn't
This
sound-
hand raising.
Not hand washing, hand raising.
Yeah, Rob, go ahead.
You were muted.
This is related and unrelated, but there's another issue going on in Florida which has totally lost being publicized right now. The last year, if you remember, we as Florida voters voted overwhelmingly to give people who have completed their sentence in court, in prison, the right to vote. Well, except for murder, I won't go through the exceptions.
There were nonviolent crimes.
And it was passed overwhelmingly in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
The governor and the Republican, and I'm sorry for saying Republican legislature, decided that they were going to put additional caveats on people to be able to vote. They had to pay off their fines and court costs. Now, I'm not an historian, but somehow that sounds like a poll tax. It also violates the 24th Amendment. The federal district court has struck it down. We have to contact our legislatures because we all know what they're going to do. They're going to take an appeal and get a stay because they want to stop over 1 million people from voting in November because they're worried that they may be voting a certain way. And it seems to me that we also have to bring this up because this is the classic example of people being disenfranchised from the right to vote. And we all know which people are being disenfranchised. You know, we read about it in Georgia, we read about it in other states going on. And I think if you have the opportunity to say something, you should say something because people seem not to know this is even an issue anymore in Florida. They assume we passed it and it's done. So I just thought I raised that. Right now, I don't know where it is, Steve. They lost in the circuit.
Right.
And I assume they're going to the U.S. Supreme Court and they'll probably get a stay there because of the way the makeup of the U.S. Supreme Court is, which means it will not be in effect for the November election.
Can I suggest that he drafts a letter to our legislators and distributes it to the congregation for those who wish to send it, with where we would send it so that we're not all struggling to write a letter?
That sounds good.
Yeah, I was, Rob, I was going to suggest something similar to that. Thank you.
I think you can do it. I think you can do it electronically some way, Rob, where you give you have a letter, people send it on their email to whoever it's supposed to go to. You don't have to do it hard copies, I don't think.
No, we can do it by email. I just want everybody to realize the question right now is whether or not they're going to appeal, and if so, when. And that is up to the governor only, not the legislature. They already said what they're going to say, which wasn't very good. They tried to put a tax on these people. So it's probably more of an email to the governor. I'll work on something.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Rob.
While we're talking about that, there's another voting issue, which is the move to try to suppress voting by mail. And I think that's also a disenfranchising effort. And maybe our letter, if everybody's comfortable with that, could also include that we're opposed to any impediments to persons being able to vote by mail.
Yeah, I should say, and the last thing I'll say as a lawyer, in Florida, we have voting by mail. You all receive notification on a vote-in ballot. So Florida is not the issue. The issue is in states that are still struggling on whether or not they're going to give people the option. And I would point out, in case anybody raises it to you that it's fraud, you may want to point out that the President of the United States votes by mail as a Florida resident.
And his press secretary also does. Kaylee, whatever her last name is.
So the voting by mail is really not a Florida problem. It's getting people out to the polls that's a problem.
But it's a national problem.
It is.
It is a national problem.
Oh, it's a national, Texas. But individually, states make the determination on that. It's not the federal government.
Can I also suggest that if we attend this rally, that those of us that have those shirts, those NJC shirts, agree to wear those shirts?
Good idea.
Good idea.
NJC shirts.
Yeah. What NJC shirt?
Or the volunteer shirts that we had made up for the food pantry that we, Food Angels that we.
I have an email from Virtual Happy Hour Corporation right there.
Anybody else want to be heard on the substantive issues, racism, voting rights, either for ex-felons or vote by mail or anything else?
Well, Steve?
Yes.
The issue, the underlying issue, sure, racism is an issue that's been with us for centuries, literally. But the progenitor of this was the abject criminality and violence of the police in Minneapolis, and we've seen it repeated several times since then. And that's where a major part of the problem lies because these cops think they can get away with anything, even if they're on camera, and historically they have been able to. And that's an issue that I think we should bounce around and see how to address that, because they say an elderly man, 75, well, I'm 75, and I don't know if I'm elderly or not, but this poor guy was shoved by 2 police officers, fell backwards, they claimed he just tripped, hit his head on the pavement, started bleeding, obviously. Another police officer went to help him and was pushed away. That is criminal in and of itself. So that, and in New York City, we saw an SUV going through a crowd, a police SUV, 2 of them actually. So this is what has to stop. And yes, it's training, it's awareness, and now the Minneapolis chief of police or the city council has said they can't do certain things. But this has to be nationalized, and it has to be part of the uprising, part of this potential revolution that we're seeing, not just for the prejudice, but to disallow the police to do this kind of stuff.
The national database of cops who have been complained against for violence, like we're seeing currently.
And that's an issue that we should address.
Another, if I can, another thing is that a lot of these things have additional difficulty because certain things are in the police union contract. And so, for example, what I'd like to see is one instance of excessive force. Okay, we say okay, but another time you're fired. Something like that. But you can't do that because that's not what the union contract says. So and it's not something that can be solved, I think, at the national level, but certainly through the committee, perhaps we could come up with some ideas of things that should be recommended for local mayors or county executives to include in the next union contract. And let them know now it's coming.
I think one of the encouraging things were the policemen that reached out across the aisle to support the protesters. But I think it's important for us to be not anti-police, but anti-police brutality. And if there's a way to reach out to police people that are in agreement, I think it's important for us to do that. Otherwise, all you're doing is polarizing everybody once again.
Yes, I agree. NJC had a social action, social justice committee. I think we still do, but it hasn't done anything of note within the last year. So maybe what all of us should think about is who would be interested in being on that committee and coming up with some proposals for what we could do as a congregation to advance the cause of a better world in terms of racism, discrimination, voting rights, policing. There are all kinds of topics that we could put our heads together and come up with an action plan.
You know, there is one thing that I think all of us can do every day, and we should do it every day. I was listening to Obama the other day when he gave a speech on some forum. And one of the things he said that struck me is that we have to show that this is not a Black issue. It is a multicultural, multi-race issue. And I think other people have to see that we as, and I hate to say it, as white folk, stand up and support what's wrong in America, that it's all of us that are affected. And I think if you simply say that, I think it's a good thing for people to hear, that it isn't a bunch of 25-year-old African-American kids running around. The second thing I will say, since I see Dick looking attentively, is I do think when we have the ability to go into a room together that we should have a discussion on why we are here today with the police. This has been a 40-year problem, and it's a multifaceted problem, and it's not going to be solved unless we look at all the issues why the police are able to act the way they act today.
Some police.
Well, obviously some police, whether it's qualified immunity, whether it's the union, whether it's the jury system. This has been going on for, sorry for saying how old I am, for as long as I've been doing this stuff. So those are my 2 comments.
Anybody else have anything on these topics? Okay.
Mike's got his hand up.
Oh, Mike?
Yeah, a couple of things. I think writing letters and email is greatly overrated because it can only make a difference where a congressman or a state legislator is in a tight race, or think, it doesn't work. You can write all the letters you want. You can send all the emails you want. The question is where does he think his votes are coming from? And where are his contributions coming from? So I think what you really have to do, and this is, if you want to say affect change here in Florida, is work and come out in October and September and in November and knock on doors and get the vote out in Florida. There are Democrats here on the West Coast. There are, for example, I'm Democrat, and I know that there are at least a dozen other Democrats on the West Coast.
But you're getting political.
But the point is, you get the vote out, and that's the only way you're going to affect change.
That's one.
Anybody else on these issues?
Yeah, Steve, for Rob, Mr. Rob, Michigan Congressman Justin Amash, a libertarian now or independent, he's announced a bill to end this Qualified Immunity Act in Congress. I don't know where it's going, but they're taking at least he proposed some action on that. As far as the union regulations go state to state. It's not a uniform U.S. That was one of the things de Blasio had issue with last night on the news.
Great.
Their hands are handcuffed, as Mrs. Robb said. The union regulations vary and they're tight. They hide behind the union rules and regs. Those are 2 fronts maybe to attack. Support Amash's bill and look at, I don't know how to change union regulations state to state.
It has to be almost municipality to municipality in some places.
And the unions, yeah.
Yeah.
I will send you this article, Rob. You can read it.
All right. Just to close out this topic, I'm going to send a notice probably that will go out in the Weekly E-News Monday, indicating that the Social Action, Social Justice Committee constituted or re-energized, and I'm looking for volunteers. So, and then I'll see what happens with that. Elaine, you wanted to speak about the virtual raffle and then get to my other 2.
Before you close it out, if you're going to be sending a notice, would you also include the rally that is going to be taking place on June 10th?
Sure. Just, Irene, just send me.
I'll send you the specific
Having
information.
a rally of people who are our age and encouraging people to rally.
Mike, you're on twice and it's causing an echo.
No, we have it off.
Mike and Paula, there are 2, you're on twice and it's causing an echo every time you say something.
I'm taking the one off. Okay. All right. Okay, they're off now. I'm gonna take the other
Yes.
Galveston, I'm taking the other Galveston off too.
Yeah, okay.
We had some internet problems.
Okay,
sorry.
all right, you're good to go. Go ahead.
Just wanted to make sure you didn't miss anything.
Elaine, the floor is yours.
Okay, as you all know, game day was canceled. Fortunately, we had a lot of very generous people who donated the price of their ticket, so we ended up making over $3,000, even though we didn't have game day. However, we're left with prizes that everybody worked very hard to get because we always have a raffle at game day. So what we are doing is, with the help of Mike Himowitz and Chuck and Gusty and myself, and of course Dick, we have planned this virtual raffle where we are going to be sending information out on it in about 2 weeks. The raffle will be held on the 23rd of July. It will be held virtually. You will be able to view it on YouTube. And the purpose of the raffle is to raise money, and it was 100% of the money raised will be donated to the food bank. And so it's an opportunity for everybody to make a personal contribution to those people in our community who are in desperate need of food and sustenance as a result of the pandemic, and now probably even more so because of the riots, and or not the riots, excuse me, the demonstrations. I used the wrong word. And so we hope that everybody will participate. When you get this information, I think it will be very clear. You will be receiving it by mail, by email. It will be on constant contact. Mike Himowitz has put together a book of the prizes. We have 56 prizes. About half of them are gift certificates, and the other half are items. And so there will be a book that you'll be able to view of the prizes, and all the instructions will be coming out, as I say, in about 2 weeks, and we hope that everybody will participate. This information is going out to all of our congregants and past congregants, and also to the participants of game day where we have their information. There are a few that we don't have. But also, if any of you know people who you think might like to participate, please encourage them to do so. If you need me to send information out to them, we will, and or contact me or whatever. But we would like to collect a lot of money, and it's fun, and everybody gets a chance to find something. It's a very worthwhile cause. That's it. Any questions? No? Okay.
I think any questions will be probably prompted by the mailing they get, Elaine.
Yes.
If they have questions, they can contact you.
Right.
Thank you, though. Thank you.
Elaine, did you get photos for the items?
Yes. Yes.
Very good. Very good.
And thank you for everybody that has been working on the virtual raffle. We appreciate it. I was going to talk about possible topics for adult ed, but I think I will defer that to later, because we're going to have time to discuss that down the road a bit. That's probably not going to start up till October or November, but if you have any suggestions, certainly share them with Rabbi Herman. So before we go to the Jewish Jeopardy Part 2, let me just tell you about what's been going on with discussions about services starting in September, and particularly High Holy Day services. We have our schedule set for June, July, and August. And obviously it's much more robust than what we normally do over the summer. The High Holy Days are in mid-September this year. And I talked to Rabbi Herman on Monday about various scenarios. So I want you to think about these things, and if you want to weigh in right now on the issue or the issue, that's fine. If you want to think about it, you can communicate with me or other members of the board and let them know. We have another board meeting next Thursday, June 11th at 2. So the first option is just to continue to do what we've been doing and have high holy day services on Zoom with the rabbi at his home in Venice and Jane and all at Jane's home in Fort Myers. Excuse me, that Allah's home in Fort Myers. That's option 1. Option 2 would be some sort of hybrid. That is that if we were permitted to do it by the UU, that is use the sanctuary, we would have some people in the sanctuary socially distancing. They also have capability of people on the patio because they can live stream. They have a big TV on the patio. I don't know whether you've noticed it. That's also an option. And obviously a member that wanted to go to the UU, that would be their option, and we would socially distance. We would have every other row, and you would have at least a 6-foot perimeter around you at the service. And the other part of that would be for those that did not feel comfortable coming to the UU, we would be live streaming the service for those that wanted to watch it remotely. So that's also an option. A third option would be to, again, have it live streamed, but to have the rabbi, Jane and Allah in the UU with the ark, with the memorial board, with the chorus on the bema, conducting the service from there, but everybody else would be in their home watching it on Zoom or whatever live streaming platform would be. So what I do is start thinking about this.
Interfering. He turned it off.
It's obvious.
Well, I turned it off first.
It's obviously going to depend on what the UU is doing. I talked to Bill McCormick, their president, Monday. They are live streaming services into the short-term foreseeable future. They have not gone back to services in the sanctuary. They don't know when they're going to do that. Obviously, they're going to be guided by science and data to make that determination. So I open it for discussion for a few minutes, but more than anything, I want people to think about it and think what you want to have happen.
If we have a service in the UU, even though we were socially distant, we would still need to wear masks. And singing, they tell us, is a great way to spread. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, perhaps what you would do if you went to the UU is you wouldn't sing, or you'd sing softly.
Still have to be wearing masks. You still have to be
you'd
wearing
be
masks.
wearing masks. If you wanted to sing, I think rather than singing joyously and expelling multitudes of droplets, sing softly and carry a big stick. It's just an idea. Nothing is written in stone. We're talking about it. So,
Steve?
Yeah, Rob.
I have a question. Last year, we, to High Holidays, we collected all those bags of clothes. which I have to say, you know, we brought them to our house, put them in our garage, and took them out to Immokalee. And in light of everything going on in Immokalee, it was very well received. When you have your board meeting and you think about how you want to do the holidays, I don't know if it's going to be possible to do the same kind of collection or have a central pickup spot. But I will say it was a very nice thing we did last year. I mean, we loaded up well, you know what we did. We just took everything out, and I think we felt good, and I will tell you, they felt good, especially in the times we're having right now, economically. I'm sure they need it. I don't know if it's going to be possible to do it this year or not.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it, but Rob, it's a good idea. I will put it on the agenda for Thursday, and it's not a problem that would be insurmountable. People would
Drop it off.
people would drop it off. The UU, there are people at the UU. They don't have services. They have people working in the garden. There are people in there every day. Anybody that wanted to donate clothing would simply call Anna at the UU, and I can put that information out to the congregation, and then arrange to put it in a location where we can keep it all until it's distributed.
Now, are you talking about food or clothing or both?
Now, I'm just talking about clothing, and that's what we did last year. And obviously, with all of us stuck in our houses, it's a great time to go through your closets. And if we start thinking about it now, we did collect an awful lot of bags of clothes, and my SUV was packed, but we got it out there. And we would do the same thing if we had a central point of drop-off, so we can pick it up and take it out, you know, whenever the drop-off point is over. The time is.
Who will get this clothing? Who is it for?
It's mostly for the people at Immokalee. They have a system where they lay out clothes on a certain day, and every family is allowed to pick one item, as long as they, you know, and then I guess if there's a lot more clothes, they might be able to pick more than one item, or maybe it's one item per family member, but it's run through the school system.
No cost.
So they just collect the stuff, and then they have a certain day they put it out, and families can pick one thing per family member.
And Rob, you took it to the Guadalupe Center, didn't you?
No, we took it to an elementary school in Immokalee. Where a friend of mine who worked as a teacher's aide told me that they had this program, and that's where she's taken clothes in the past, and that's where we took it.
Yeah,
but they were ecstatic. The principal came out and helped us unload the clothes.
There's no cost. There's no cost involved. They make no money. It's all given away, which is the nice thing. Well, that's just my suggestion,
Yeah.
Steve.
I think that's a great idea. I'll put it on the agenda for Thursday. Unless anybody has anything else, I think it's time for Charles Flum and Jewish Jeopardy #2.
That's a Jeopardy. I don't know what it's about.
Okay, so you were all sent a sheet with the numbers and so on. I hope you have them.
We do.
Or even if you don't,
just printed it out.
Piece of paper to write down your score.
Over there.
Because this is just for fun.
Over there.
Are we having fun yet? Got too many people talking. It's kind of hard to. It's tough with open mics. But I think the better thing, if is probably for people to be muted, and then
You could be sitting outside.
unmute yourself. You raise your hand, and I can call on you, and you unmute yourself by pressing space bar and holding space bar on your computer. I don't know how it works on an iPad or a phone. but you do that on the computer. And then you can ask the question for it. If you got the question right, even though you didn't answer, give yourself the points. If you didn't, hopefully everybody will learn something from it. So, since I've got the way everybody sees the Zoom in a different way, you know, of where everybody is on the screen. So I'm just going to start, since Dick is to my left, why don't I start with you picking a title? Does everybody have the categories? Anybody not have the categories?
I think we all have them, Charles.
Gusty doesn't have them. Let me read them off. You ready to write them down for those that don't have it? Okay. Numbers. The Jewish Gourmet. Holy Tongue.
I like that.
Symbols, SYMBOLS, and drums. Places, and hodgepodge. So Dick, what do you want to start with?
Jewish Gourmet for 30 points.
Okay, I gotta mark these off on here too. All right. Jewish wontons or ravioli or kreplach or pierogies.
Kreplach.
Of course.
Oh, I have to unmute myself.
What? No, in the full question.
What are?
Oh, what are kreplach?
What are kreplach? So if you got that, give yourself 30 points.
Okay, I win.
And a garden.
Okay, since you let's switch to somebody else. Either Steve or Shelley. Pick a category and a thing. I'm just going around my board here.
Okay, Holy Tongue for 20.
Okay. In Hebrew, what is the word, or I'm sorry, blessed?
What is Baruch?
Correct. What is Baruch? So, again, if you got it right.
My Hebrew name.
So Barry, go ahead.
Jewish Gourmet, 10.
Orange and white on a circle of bread.
Orange and white on a circle of bread.
Orange and white on a circle of bread.
What is kosher? What is kosher?
Nope.
What is pareve?
No.
To me, it's a bagel with cream cheese and lox.
Question.
What is bagel and lox?
Correct.
Yeah, orange and white.
Orange and white, cream cheese
Charles,
and
I like
lox
how we think.
on a bagel.
Wait a second, Kreplach was 30 and that was 10?
Yeah.
I took an easy one, Rob.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we have a clarification of the rules here? Is only the person who picks the category supposed to try and answer?
No, anybody answers.
So we can just press the button and call in?
Right.
Call it out?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it works that way. We're not taking score for teams, so yeah.
All right, we're
Just kinda
competitive
going.
here. Thank you.
Okay. The Pomerances, one of you pick a Donna or Irene.
What's this?
Places for 20.
You answered it.
Places for 20.
Places for 20.
Fire and brimstone rain down there.
Sinai? What is Mount Sinai?
Nope.
No, what is Sodom and Gomorrah?
What is hell?
What is Sodom and Gomorrah? What is Sodom and Gomorrah? Correct.
Sodom and Gomorrah.
Which one?
Interesting, Elaine knew that one.
Okay, Allah, you're next. I can't. You're
You're
muted.
muted, Ala.
You're
You got
muted.
her. She's
I'll
muted.
unmute her. Okay.
It's okay.
Okay.
There we go. Aller. What?
Oh, she's still muted.
She's still muted.
You better unmute yourself, Alla.
Aller, you're muted. We can't hear you.
Okay. So
There
I
we
don't
go.
have the paper, so I cannot choose anything. I'm skipping. Call on somebody
Okay.
else.
All right. Gusty, you got to.
You guys
Unmute.
Gusty,
Unmute.
you're muted.
You're muted, Dusty.
Unmuting, I'm unmuting.
There you go.
There we go. Okay, go ahead.
Hodgepodge for 10.
Hodgepodge.
Okay. Hebrew for house of peace.
Anshe Chesed. No, that's it.
No, that's
That's people of loving kindness.
Hebrew for house of peace.
That's
That's Shalom.
That's
Right.
Shalom.
What is Bet Shalom?
That's
See, I knew that too,
It's 10
Barry.
points.
Besides
Don't
fire and
please, that's
brimstone, I knew Beth Shalom.
Lane, you pick.
Me? Okay, let's
What was the
do
answer?
numbers for 40.
Numbers of 40. Number of sections in the Mishnah.
Five.
Number of sections in the Mishnah.
527.
Oh, and then
Remember, it's a question.
Oh,
Asking the question.
What is
What
it?
is-
10? I don't-
Number of sections in the Mishnah.
No, maybe I'm wrong.
There are 6 sections in the Mishnah. Remember, the Mishnah is part of the Torah, of the Talmud. I'm sorry.
Oh, wow.
It's the Hebrew portion of the Talmud. The Gemara is the Aramaic section.
Oh, you're Jewish.
Okay.
you and I.
All right. Chuck, it's your turn. Unmute yourself and pick a category and amount.
Where's Chuck?
Chuck, you're muted. You're muted.
There you go.
Okay, I am unmuted. How about the Jewish gourmet for 20?
Okay. Most of you should know this. This red soup is really Russian.
What is
Exactly.
Of course.
Olive would have got that one.
We got that.
Okay, where are we? Michael and Fran, one of you.
Holy tongue for 50. Holy tongue for 50.
Holy tongue.
Holy tongue for 50.
Holy tongue for 50. Bon appetit in Hebrew.
Um,
Bon appetit in Hebrew.
how do you say bon appetit in Hebrew?
What is Guten Essen?
Oh, the Teavon. What is that?
Correct. What is Teavon? Teavon.
Teavon.
Teavon is bon appetit.
Yeah.
Sounds like a-
Okay. One of the Himowitzes, you're muted.
We'll do places for 50.
Places for 50. Ben Yehuda, Yafo, and King George form a triangle in this city.
What is Tel Aviv?
Nope. Ben Yehuda, Yafo, and King George form a triangle in this city.
What is
Jerusalem.
What is Yerushalayim? What is Jerusalem? Right downtown
Yeah, I
the
got
new
you.
city. Okay, Dave, you're next. You got to unmute. Dave, you're muted. What category do you want? Dave?
Pick one.
It's muted still.
Yeah.
There you go.
Gourmet,
For what?
30.
We've done 10, 20, and 30.
Which one?
You got 40 or 50 left.
40.
40?
What
It's
category are we on?
This is Jewish Gourmet for 40. It's to remind us of Jacob's ladder.
What? Repeat
It's
it.
twists are to remind us of Jacob's ladder.
What is
That's a
challah?
challah.
Correct. What is challah?
Challah.
That's why you have the twist, is to remind you that Jacob.
I didn't know that, did you?
No, didn't know that.
And the Robs,
Yes,
Go ahead, Victor.
yes. Let's see, cymbals and drums for 20. Go Wally.
prayer shawl.
What is
What
it?
is talis?
Talit.
Correct. What is talit?
Yeah.
Well, what is a prayer shawl? What is a prayer shawl?
Yep.
Talit.
What is a talit?
Talit.
What is
Yep.
that? Right.
Okay. Sandy, are you there? You're muted.
I have no idea what most of this is.
I don't know if she's there. Well, Dick, it's back to you.
Oh, okay. Hodgepodge for 20.
You're right down. Big question.
What CCAR stands for?
Central Conference of American Rabbis.
Correct.
Whoa.
Central Conference of American Rabbis.
Yeah, we had a great experience with them when we were hiring our rabbi, didn't we, Steve?
Right, we did.
Hey guys, can you hear us now?
Yes. It's your turn, Sandy, or the Domovskis.
Let her. She's smarter than I am.
am not.
We can't see you.
Oh, why can't you?
Oh, I think because I got it sideways.
Because your camera's
Hold
not
on.
on.
Hold on.
Camera's
I'll
off.
figure out what's the.
Your camera is
What's the top?
off.
My camera's off? Oh, I don't know how to, is the camera in the white box?
Your voice is up.
Video.
Hit video up above.
Oh, there we are.
There we are.
There you are. All right. All right, it's your turn. Pick.
Jewish gourmet for 50?
All right.
Oh, that's all used now.
Donuts are eaten in Israel on this holiday.
What is Hanukkah?
Correct.
Yeah,
Hanukkah.
They're eating in Naples too on Hanukkah.
But they're also eating on Shleifot.
What is slichus?
And
Sukkot,
Sukkot,
before the
It's in
holiday.
between
the sweetness
holidays.
for that.
Really? And that was a
On
50?
Sukkot, it's on Shavuot, it's for the sweetness. On Hanukkah, it's because of the oil.
Jelly,
Yeah.
jelly donuts.
And the taste.
Notice they eat blintzes too.
Yes, for Shavuot. Okay, Steve, or the McCloskeys, one of you.
Shelley?
We'll do Holy Tongue 4:30.
What is that one?
Holy Tongue.
Holy Tongue for 30. It means covenant, not circumcision.
What is bris?
Right?
What is brit? Brit is covenant.
Bris.
Milah is the word that means circumcision.
Let's get out of town.
Three?
Okay, the Goldenbergs.
Yeah.
How about, all right, numbers for 30.
Okay.
What?
Numbers.
Lesser known number of pairs of animals entering the ark.
A lot.
How many?
Lesser known numbers of pairs of animals entering the
30.
Nope.
20.
I have no idea.
What is a kosher butcher?
Okay.
I haven't. What is Vienna beef? What is Vienna beef?
Nope.
We know, Deanna.
I know.
We don't know.
I did it for you.
I know. I'm gonna tell you. The number that everybody associates with the ark is 2 by 2.
Right.
There are 2 stories about the ark, the making of it, and there are 2 sets of numbers. One set of numbers is the flood lasted 40 days and 40 nights. It also says the flood lasted 150 days. In that story with 150 days, the animals came in 7 by 7.
No, that's his.
I say it again. It's good news.
Animals 7 by 7.
The animals were 7. There were 7 pairs of each.
Oh, all right.
10
Along
pairs.
7 pairs.
Where is that written?
It's in Genesis. Take a look at the story of Noah. Noah starts in chapter 6 of Genesis.
I'm glad I picked that.
And if you read through there, you'll see, and it's very distinct between the two stories. You can pick out as to which one is which
Oh, that was that one.
between the two. And the rabbis were like, we don't know which one it really is, so we're going to put them both in. It's the same thing like when with the story of how man and women were created. You have the story that most people know of Adam going to sleep and the rib taken out and forming woman. And that one's known simply because of woman's subservient to man. However, there's another story in Genesis chapter 2, which says, male and female created he them. It should be the better known one. So Genesis has a number of stories where you've got two different versions of the same thing. All right, we're up to the Pomerances.
Okay, let's do places for 40.
This is a history question. Challenge your history. July 4th, 1976, Israel raided this airport.
Entebbe.
Correct. I did hear the right answer. Entebbe.
Yeah. In Uganda.
Which was in what country?
Uganda.
Oh.
Uganda.
Oh, he wanted the
I
country.
didn't hear the answer.
Entebbe. Entebbe Airport in Uganda.
Idi Amin.
Okay. Gusty, you're up. You gotta unmute. Okay.
Which ones are left under symbols?
10, 30, 40, 50.
Symbols for 10.
Israeli national anthem.
Oh,
Hatikva.
Right.
What is Hatikva?
You all know that.
Yeah.
Michael got it right because he said it in the form of a question. Elaine, you're next.
Okay, let's do hodgepodge for 40.
Jan Pierce's brother-in-law. Jan Pierce's brother-in-law.
I'm not interested.
Netanyahu, I don't know. Who is
You know who Jan Pierce was? He was a tenor at the Met.
Right.
His brother-in-law was also a tenor at the Met.
Robert Domingo.
Richard Tucker.
Oh,
Richard Tucker was Jan Pierce's brother-in-law. They married sisters.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You could have converted.
That's why we play this, so you learn things. Or like I said in the note, oh yeah, I know what that is. The Namoffs are next.
Annual services. Early service.
Are there any left on the Jewish Gourmet?
No,
No, that's all.
No.
all taken.
Okay, how about places?
10 and 30 or less.
There's 10 and 30.
10.
City with the most Jews.
New York. What is New York?
What is New York?
That's
What
correct.
is Brooklyn?
Right.
What is New York?
What's Coney Island?
That's correct. What is New
Gotta be
York?
New York.
What is it, New York City?
Yeah.
We'll be late to the next one.
I just lost my pen.
All right.
All right. Where are we? Michael and Fran.
Holy Tongue for 30.
We did that.
We did that? What's
Yeah,
left on Holy Tongue?
40 is the only thing left.
40.
10.
Oh, 10 is left.
10 is all right. 10.
That's right. 10 is left too. 10 and 40. So
10
which,
and 40. 40.
40?
40. Okay.
Well, remember, this is Hebrew. What do you say? What you say when someone
When someone what?
sneezes?
Gesundheit. What is
Gesundheit.
Gesundheit. What is
That is
Gesundheit?
Yiddish. That is Yiddish.
What is
That's not Hebrew, it's Yiddish.
That's Yiddish.
I circle them or don't do anything.
Is that right or not?
God bless.
Gesundheit.
Gesundheit.
Gesundheit is Yiddish. It's actually German. So Gesundheit is Yiddish.
Of course.
Labriut. Labriut is a Hebrew word. It literally means to your health.
What is that?
Labriut is the word that you say when somebody sneezes. It means to your health. It's different than Gesundheit, which is God bless you.
Say it again, we couldn't hear the guy talk.
Okay. The Himowitzes are next.
What's left under cymbals and drums?
30.
30, 40, 50.
50.
Looking at the paper.
Oh.
50.
Oh.
Okay.
Which way, under symbols?
Yes, 50.
Okay. Not the box, but the paper that is in it.
What is
Oh, the
Mezuzah.
what is a mezuzah?
What is a
Correct.
mezuzah?
What is a mezuzah?
What is a Torah?
No, what is a mezuzah?
Yeah.
It's actually the paper. The box itself
What is a
just
mezuzah?
holds the mezuzah.
Right.
And know what's on there.
No, the mezuzah
Do I
is.
just circle it?
What is written on the mezuzah?
Circle it when they ask it. Cross it out if we don't know the answer.
Ten Commandments, isn't it?
No.
No.
It's a
No.
prayer.
Is it the
It's
prayer, thou shalt
The
love
Shema
Lord
and the Ve'ahavta and
thy God?
two other, there are two other paragraphs after the Ve'ahavta that are in as well.
Never.
I thought maybe it was leave the pizza at the door and I'll give you a tip.
Hey, Charles, did you call on Jane?
That's an Italian mezuzah.
Somebody contracted with a contractor to put up 40 mezuzahs in his house. And when he got all finished, he told them that it was easy putting up the mezuzahs. What was difficult was taking out all those little instruction pamphlets and throwing them away.
Old joke, old joke.
Old joke. Dave, your turn. Dave Galliston.
Okay.
Take the,
Give me, what's hodgepodge?
Hodgepodge, you got 30 and 50.
Give me the 30.
Okay. Portion of the Talmud written in Aramaic.
Oh,
The halakha. The
Well,
halakha.
Halakha means law.
in the
Portion
Torah,
of the Talmud.
the Aramaic, which portion was written in Aramaic?
Oh, I don't know.
You're getting too deep for me.
The Mishnah.
What is the
Okay.
Talmud?
No. The Gemara is part of the Talmud. Gemara, I told you before it.
Yes, you did. I didn't write
It
it.
isn't written in Aramaic. The Mishnah is the part that's in Hebrew. The Gemara, which are explanations of the laws and so on in the Mishnah, are in Aramaic.
Cross it out.
And you've got Halakha and Agadah, which are the legends. Stories are the two parts that are in there.
Elaine should have known that.
Okay, the Oblers.
How about places for 30?
Oh, that's all taken care of.
Okay. Theodore Herzl is buried near this memorial.
Yeah, what is Yad Vashem?
Correct. What is Yad Vashem?
Okay, that was.
Hey, Charles,
In the big military cemetery.
Charles, have you called
Yad Vashem, I didn't know.
What?
Have you called on Jane?
She's not here.
Oh, she was here earlier.
She had to leave. She had another meeting. She
left the Zoom.
Sorry about that.
Okay, the Demovskis.
Yeah.
What's left?
Oh, I got symbols for 30.
Symbols
That's
for
left.
30, yeah.
Cymbals and drums for 30.
Yeah.
Okay.
The wedding canopy.
What is a
Correct.
What is a
chuppah?
Hey, we got one right.
You got that, man.
Okay, Alla, do you want me to skip you or you want to pick?
Okay, what left?
Oh, my.
Symbols for 40.
We got hodgepodge for 50.
Symbols and drawing.
Okay, let's
Symbols.
do hodgepodge for 50. I don't
There you
know
go.
mine, but
Go
let's-
for it.
Okay,
Come on.
Big
all
time.
right. She killed General Sisera in the book of Judges. She killed General Sisera in the book of Judges.
Don't know.
David.
I have no idea.
Go ahead, say it.
He was rude.
Sisera,
I don't know.
Sisera was the general who Deborah defeated.
Deborah.
And he went to his tent.
We could eat one.
A woman came in because she said she was going to kill him, and that was Yael. Drove a stake right through his heart.
So it's Yael.
So Yael,
Yeah.
Jael or Yael.
Y-A-L.
All right, Dick Lechner, we're back to you too.
Okay, got numbers for 10?
Hello. Am I here?
Oh,
The days of creation.
What is 7?
What is 7?
Six.
What is
No.
6?
6 and then he
Six.
Oh, then he rested. Oh,
It is 6.
oh.
Some of you got that one wrong.
We finally got another one. 2 in a row.
7.
Of course.
The McCloskeys.
We don't have the sheet to tell us what the weather.
Numbers for 20, please.
What did you want? I'm sorry.
Numbers for 20.
Okay, numbers for 20. Number of years Moses lived.
A blessing in Hebrew.
What?
What is 120?
120?
Correct. What is 120?
How about holy tongue?
Okay.
Holy tongue
The Goldenbergs.
Holy tongue for 10.
and cymbals and drums.
Peace. Hello. Goodbye.
What is
Shalom?
And what is shalom?
Correct. What is
Yeah.
shalom?
That's cool. Yeah.
The Pomerances.
What?
Numbers for 50.
That's hard.
Oh, well, no, here.
El- Elijah spent this amount of time in the wilderness.
What is 40 years?
Years. What is 40?
No,
No,
40.
no.
you're close.
45.
30 years?
43.
What is 50 years?
No,
Why is
41.
you've got the right number, but the wrong thing. That the number of.
What is 40 days?
What is 40 days?
Oh.
Can I say I got that right?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not if you said 40 years or just 40, because
40 is
you whispered days.
You get it right.
No, you
It's
prompted
okay.
me for the right answer. Okay.
You know, the number 40, is used in the Bible as a symbol that it is related to God. 40 years in the wilderness, 40 days. Jesus spent 40 days in the wilderness as well. For the same reason.
Second marriage.
Okay. Gusty.
We have one left.
Yeah.
What's left?
Symbols and drums.
The holy tongue for 40. I
We did
Yeah,
that.
you did that one.
Yeah, you're right. I think
Cymbals and
We have the
drums.
for symbols.
Symbols for 40.
that's the only one. It
Knock
means
it out of the park, Gusty.
it means shield.
40.
It means shield, not Star of David.
What is Magain?
What is Magen David?
Correct. What is Magen David? It's the shield of David.
Magen David.
Did you get it right there?
Okay, there are a total of 870 points on this board. So add up what you've got.
We got 870.
I got 870.
We didn't get the sweater yet.
Anybody get more than
We
500?
have 12.
I finished at 868.
We don't know.
Charles, I have a question.
Sure.
This was really spectacular. I assume there's still some more Jewish history stuff. Would you consider doing Jeopardy Part 3 during the summer?
I'd have to make it up. This I've had made up, but yeah, I could do that.
That would be awesome. It is so much
I'm
fun.
glad you like it.
Wants them to
I
do
love
another.
it.
It's fun.
Do
So who
another
got the
one.
highest points?
I hope you learned something. Anybody get more than 200 points?
I had 470.
Great.
Holy macros.
Wow.
Prove it.
So we got 180. We got
You go,
180.
Elaine.
I want to know what the name of the.
You win the
line-
15 minutes of fame.
Yeah.
We have to take
Lion.
It's going fast.
Elaine,
How many do you need to
Jewish
become a
stuff.
rabbi?
Jewish stuff.
All right.
All right.
All right. We have to go
You-
to another
Thank you.
call, so
Do you
we'll see
people,
you
do you
all-
people read, do you people read the trivia that I've sent to Dick to go?
Yes, we do.
In the e-bulletin.
Shalom.
Bye, Rob. Rob.
Shabbat shalom.
All right.
Yeah, everybody, we're gonna meet.
Thanks,
Shabbat
Charles.
shalom, everybody.
Thank you, Charles. Shabbat shalom.
Thank
You're
you,
welcome.
thank you.
On.
Good-
Bye.
Goodbye, the lion too.
Hi, goodbye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye, everybody. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Bye. Thank you, Dick, for zooming.
Fun.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Stay well.
I'm ending the meeting, folks. Say bye.
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 Bye.